Elisa, thank you so much for being on the Broads podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, so you are here from Cronometer. So tell us all about Cronometer and what it is.
Yeah, I'd love to. So, Cronometer is a nutrition tracking app. We're almost at 12 million users worldwide, so we're not a tiny fish anymore. We used to be one of the small tracking apps when I started 7 years ago. We had about a million users, so we've grown exponentially, and it's been really rewarding to see the growth and how we've impacted people's lives. I think where we really differentiate, because there are other trackers in this space, is our attention to detail in terms of the nutrition data we provide. So we have lab analyzed data, and what that means is we cover not only calories and macronutrients, but vitamins and minerals. Those are called micronutrients. We cover all of those too. And then we're very accurate. So everything that's in our database has either been checked by a member of our curation team or, like I said, lab analyzed. So we're super nerdy.
How do you actually make sure that it is so accurate? I'm dying to know more about the science behind that.
Yep. Great question. We see this a lot because this is really our key differentiator. So we see people that are coming to us because they want accurate data to track different illnesses, or just because maybe they're following like a ketogenic diet and they really want to make sure that the carbs are accurate. So it's twofold. As I said, we source lab analyzed data. So that means that there is a database, and basically it's called the NCCDB, and they will actually break down foods at their headquarters to get full nutrient profiles. So these foods can be more accurate even than a nutrition label because they're allowed to round by law. So that's one way. So those are very, very accurate. We're talking, it's like 132.4 calories. Like we are very dialed that way. But then otherwise, we do have user submitted foods, much like other nutrition tracking apps, but all of ours are checked before they're added to the public database. So we actually have a team, and what they do is they go through the nutrition label and make sure that every single nutrient is reported correctly, and then it is added to the public database for the rest of the users to use. So that's basically how our barcode scanner works. So we don't have duplicates or inaccuracies, which is, I think, very important if you're training for any kind of goal.
Yeah, it's so cool. I've been in the app the last few weeks, probably about a month now, and I'm just like, it's so different from other apps that I've used in the past where there are no duplicates, and it's just easy to find everything. And there are so many different barcodes and foods out there. So how do you guys do it? How big is the team? What does it look like?
Great question. Again, all these great questions. So when I started 7 years ago, I think there was like 6 or 8 of us, and now we're over 60 people. So basically what happens is somebody, one of our users will go, and if a food isn't in our database, which we do have 1.1 million foods now. So you're pretty hard pressed in North America to find a food that isn't in the database now. But if you do find one, you can just scan the barcode. And then we actually use AI now, which has changed quite a bit, obviously, since I started. And it'll read the front of the package for you and then the nutrition label, and it will enter it in, which is awesome. You can verify that it's correct because, as we know with any technology, sometimes there could be little glitches, but for the most part, it's shockingly accurate. And then that is sent to our team, and then they go through and they check all of those. So it's really neat. They're adding thousands of new foods to the database every single week, which is really, really exciting. We're just growing. I think last year, actually, I talked to our nutrition scientist, Karen. She said that they added, I think, 169,000 foods, verified foods to the database. So
I
that team is working very hard.
Yeah. So you had specifically mentioned North America. Is this an app that you can get all over the world?
Yes, actually, we're available in English. We're expanding currently to French. So we're testing that out right now with French Canadians because we are a Canadian company. So we'll be able to offer it in French hopefully soon. But we have a huge user set in the UK, in Germany, we're in India, Australia, New Zealand. Like we are global for sure.
Awesome. So French is next. Are you looking to add more languages from there then?
I think so. We'll see how that plays out, but I'm confident that it's going to be good. If we're going to do something, it has to be done to our standard, and I think our standards as a team are incredibly high. So before we kind of push things out to the wild, we're like, no, this has to be really dialed. So we're putting it out, like I said, to French Canadians, going to kind of get their feedback and then see, because not only does the app have to be in French, but then we also have to be able to support people in French as well as other languages, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot to consider, but
Do you,
hopefully soon.
do you speak French?
Seulement un petit peu. I can speak I can speak a little bit of French.
Because French Canadians are more on the other side of the country, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Although our team, we do have a number of people that work for us that are from the eastern provinces. So we do have a number of people that are fluent in French. So they're definitely the ones that I'm going to volunteer
Yeah,
as tribute to make our social media content. Because right now I'm doing it all, but I won't be able to sustain that in multiple languages.
that is true. Man, the languages are, I'm sure it's a massive undertaking when you're like trying to create an app in a whole nother language. So yeah, good luck to that for sure.
Thank you.
You had
I'm not
mentioned
responsible, but I know they're working hard on it. So.
You had mentioned, specific diets or, specific things that you're trying to combat. So, what is Cronometer? Like, who is it actually for as far as like a health conscious or just like a specific type of person? Like, who would you really say is your ideal client?
Also, a great question. Being on the marketing team, we've really dived into this, and what we see is a number of people that are coming to us that already have some kind of basis of nutrition knowledge. That's not to say that people that are picking up the app that don't have any aren't going to benefit from it, because I truly believe that anybody can benefit from it. But we are seeing a lot of people come over from other trackers. They're getting frustrated with inaccurate data. Some people might not even know that it's inaccurate, but they're not hitting their goals and they're kind of wondering why. We do have a number of different people coming to us that are tracking a variety of illnesses. I know that I host our podcast as well. So I recently interviewed someone who works with chronic kidney disease patients, and she's a Cronometer Pro user and tracks a lot of her clients' diets because they obviously need to be more mindful about certain nutrients like sodium and potassium, that kind of thing. So we do have a number of people that are tracking some kind of illness. Diabetics, we have a large community of diabetics, parents that are responsible for tube feeding their children. We see because of the nutrient data, these parents want to make sure that their kids are getting everything that they need, not just energy wise, but also really with the vitamins and minerals. So because we have that level of data, we also have a huge vegan community because vegans typically don't get adequate B12 consumption because it's primarily found in meat, and also sometimes might be a little bit under with their iron intake depending on their diet. So we see people that are really tracking like specific nutrients come to us. But then that being said, we also just have regular users that would like to meet a weight goal, whether that be maintain or lose or gain, and or are tracking their macros. So I like to think that the people that are with us are a little bit more on the biohacky end of the spectrum and really paying attention to detail with their diets. So it's a pretty cool space to be in. Everybody really
Yeah.
wants to do better, and I love that.
Yeah, the clients I serve are a lot more on the general population side. However, I will tell you that I've worked with a lot of perimenopause and menopausal women, and I've heard several menopause specialists talk about Cronometer and how important that is for women in perimenopause because of the micronutrient factor and all the data that you can get in it. So I've been telling a lot of my clients to start using it because any of the apps out there really don't have access to this information, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Dr. Claire Haver, obviously, she used to be the Galveston diet when she came to us. Now she's paused life, but she's been a huge advocate for our app, and her community has really welcomed us with open arms because we do track things like added sugars and that kind of thing. And so it's been really cool to see that space grow. As a woman, it's really nice to see that people are really taking on and tackling this perimenopause, menopause.
Yeah, because everyone woman is going to go through it at some point in their life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you work with any personal trainers or anything like where it's very collaborative in that world?
So we have a professional version, and the people that tend to use that are personal trainers, nutritionists, dietitians. We're used in hospitals and institutions as well, but we do see a lot of personal trainers that are managing their clients' diets as well as, giving them workouts and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of synergy there. I think that they kind of go hand in hand. Like there's a saying somewhere, you can't out-train a bad diet. So I think that anyone that's really dedicated to their fitness goals, they're probably going to benefit as well from tracking their nutrition. So we are used by a number of personal trainers and nutritionists in that regard for managing their clients. And it's really cool. There's a platform and they can go in and actually like track their clients' macros. They can see their diaries for the day. They can make adjustments as they see fit. We also have some dietitians that specialize in eating disorders, and there's settings that people can go in and just remove calorie tracking in its entirety and get people to focus on hitting protein targets and getting enough fiber and that kind of thing. So the pro version is very, very cool. For the layperson, though, definitely just the app is a lot of information and quite sufficient, I think.
Absolutely. And honestly, just the ability to customize it really to what you're looking for is really cool. The thing that I've liked the most is the graphing and how you can see your data really easily. So can you tell me about how like users use the data tracking the most right now from your perspective?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people that come to us, they want to be able to see trends in their diet because obviously, like day to day, they might feel like they have it dialed. But I think the magic with any kind of tracking, whether it be wearing a wearable like an Aura ring or a Garmin watch or that kind of thing, or tracking your nutrition, the trends are kind of like where you really start to learn your body. So there's a couple different ways that people can do that. There's custom charts. So you can measure two variables against one another. I'll give you an example that I've used personally. So I noticed that I tended to sleep better when I had adequate magnesium intake. So you can actually like measure your magnesium intake against your sleep, and you can see if there is a correlation between hitting that target and getting more restful sleep. So that's really neat. Charts are kind of a cool way to pit two variables against each other and learn something. But I also think that looking at a daily report, which gives you a full breakdown, all your macros, micros for the day, is really beneficial at the end of the day. But even better than that, last year, I ran a nutrition report and it gives you an average. So I ran a nutrition report for all of 2024 and then could see basically the average amount of calories I consumed, the average amount of calories I burned, and then like what my average iron intake was. Those are kind of things that I was looking at. Um, and then protein and that kind of thing as well. So I think that being able to look at your historical data over any period and kind of see how you did. For me, I thought it was interesting because in January 2024, I weighed the exact same, like to the pound, as I did in January 2025. So there's fluctuations throughout the year, obviously, but I ended and began on the same weight. And I was like, I wonder if I look at my data, if it would say that I was in maintenance then, because theoretically it should. My average calories burned should be the same as my average calories consumed. And I wear a wearable to determine how many calories I burn, and it's a rough estimate, of course, it's not exact. But then I looked at the nutrition report for a whole year, and it was off by, like, 7 calories on average, and I was like, "That is shocking." So, I encouraged our community, and, like, everybody should go run a nutrition report for 2024 and tell me if this correlates with your own success, because for me, that gave me so much confidence in the app and in my wearable data to be accurate, because I'm like, this is actually shockingly accurate. So that was really cool. And anyone can go do that over time frame if they have a gold subscription, I should say.
Yeah.
The nutrition report is available for our free users over a 7-day period, and anything beyond that is a gold subscription. But we are more than happy to hand out trials to people if somebody really wanted to deep dive and wanted to test it out. Happy to do that too.
So are you adding in, like, your Apple Wa I'm assuming it's like an Apple Watch or a Garmin or something. Are you
Mhm.
adding those in and then your sleep data separately, or does the app, integrate with your phone?
Yeah. So I actually have both on right now. I'm wearing a Garmin. I just got a Garmin Epics in the new year, and then I have my old Apple Watch still on too. To compare, so I can, our users use both of them. And I wanted to see how they compare. And so both Apple Watch and Garmin, along with, like, we also integrate with Fitbit, Suunto, Aura, Whoop, it pulls in all your data. So, for example, Garmin is even more nuanced, which is impressive than my Apple Watch. So, I get my respiratory rate, I get my sleep, I get my body battery, I get my recovery score, all my workouts, and then just calories that I've burned just moving throughout the day, imported automatically every single day. You just sync up, like, I just logged into my Garmin account through Cronometer, and then it just pulls everything in. It's really neat.
That sounds awesome because then it just does it for you. But what if you're the person that is like, and I'm saying this as myself and my husband as well, will be like, all right, let's track for like a few days just to see, or let's do it for this month or whatever. And then we just like stop doing it. Like, how do you suggest people like kind of keep going to be able to see that like long term?
Yeah, we do see users that use us in kind of in cycles similar to that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because I don't think that there's tracking. I don't think it needs to be for everybody all the time. For me, I wouldn't be able to maintain my weight, I don't think, without tracking as much as I do, because I tend to overeat. So I've maintained my weight now for about 5 years. Like I said, sometimes depending on what's going on, if I'm, eating too much sodium or running more, like, there can be changes. But day to day, I, like, basically maintain my weight, and I think that I would eat too much if I if I didn't track. But I think if you're just checking in for a specific reason, like, my mom has a very restrictive diet, and we just entered in things that she eats just to make sure she was hitting her targets. And she's like, okay, I know that I am, and I'll go about, my life now. But I think that if people want it to be a habit, I think that it's one of the best things you can do for yourself. Personally, I mean, obviously I'm biased. I work here, but I've also tracked my nutrition every day for the last 7 years. And I think that you just I feel empowered by the data. Some people can feel restricted by it, I think, but for me, it's super empowering, because if you swap an apple for a banana, or, vice versa, you're obviously making a good choice having whole foods anyway, right? But the content of vitamin C, the content of potassium is very different with both of those two fruits. And it could change how much you're getting day to day. And I'm one of, I'm part of our target market, basically. I'm super nuanced about my nutrition. And I want to hit all my targets, because that's how I know I feel my best, and I'm giving my body what it needs. And I wouldn't be able to know that if I wasn't tracking all the time. So I guess that's what does it for me. Um, I think I'll speak for our community, and I think that a lot of them are kind of in the same boat. But being able to look back is so powerful, I think. So, for example, some in the past, before I would track, like I did, I would have days where I would eat absolutely everything under the sun. And I'd probably be consuming like 4,500 calories, which is quite a bit for me. And I would really beat myself up about it. I'd be really hard on myself, and then I'd essentially fall off the wagon, so to speak, and really not recover for a long time. And I'd be like, okay, I'll like start eating better on Monday or next month or that. And I was like caught in this terrible cycle. And then when you actually like, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to commit to tracking everything. It might not be pretty, but it's going to be honest. And you realize that those days have no significance. So I was making them to be this really big thing that derailed all of my progress. When in actual fact, when you run a nutrition report, like I said earlier, for a month even, it's barely been a blip. Like it really doesn't blow things up in the way that I thought it did. And that's really what I needed, I think, to track every day, because you just realize that these one-offs that you think are so impactful, really in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't make a difference. So when I had that kind of proof, it was a lot easier to keep going. So that's just me though. If you and your husband don't want to track for a month or a week, that's honestly great, Tara.
Well, my question for you is, so you have the data, you know what works for you. You've been doing this so long. Why do you need to keep tracking?
I think that I naturally would overeat, if I'm being honest. Like, I think that even though I've been tracking this long, I actually weigh my food out with a food scale. Like, I'm at that level, which not everybody is. But I think that sometimes people are confused why they're not making progress. And just with like any kind of goal, they're like, oh, I'm plateauing, or I'm just not seeing the gains I want to see, or why am I not gaining weight? Why am I not losing weight? Why can't I maintain weight? Like those are common questions that we see. And I
Yeah.
think that if you just really tighten up your tracking, then you will be able to keep your goals. And for me, like, I would my dog I feed my dog peanut butter sometimes, and then I'm like, "Well, you're gonna get a spoonful of peanut butter, I'll have a spoonful of peanut butter too." And you don't really think about how that could impact your goals, because it's like, "Oh, what's a tablespoon of peanut butter?" But it can be 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, and that could be 200 calories, and that could be every day. And when you're thinking about, how that looks over a year, that actually can lead to significant derailment of your progress. So for me, I run a tight ship for myself, and I know that I would probably not be able to maintain my weight at all if I wasn't tracking.
What other features does Cronometer have that maybe some apps out there don't? Or like what can really set Cronometer apart from a lot of them? Besides the obvious data and science backed and very, very awesome accuracy.
Yeah, I think that that's number one for sure. I know I know a lot about what we do. I don't know if some of these features that I'm going to list that I think are really good are in other apps. There's a number to keep track of, and I usually just so entrenched in the chronometer world that I'm not really paying attention to what everyone else is doing. I'm staying in my own lane, Tara. But we have things that definitely make tracking easier. We have like repeat items. So basically, I have the same breakfast every day. I can just log it and it will auto log it every single day, or I can choose a schedule like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but not Saturday and Sunday. And those kinds of things make it really, really quick. We have a free barcode scanner A lot of our competitors have put their barcode scanner behind a paywall, which would be frustrating because I think it's one of the things that makes tracking super easy. We have macro scheduling, and that means that you can change your macros day to day depending on if, some people want to have more protein on days they lift and that kind of thing. So you can set templates there to do that. We have custom meals and recipes. So you can, and if you're making a food often at home, you can just even import the recipe, which is super cool. We have a recipe importer from a website and then save it and then use that. You can share custom recipes and foods with other Cronometer users, which is super cool. I think that those might be some of the better features. We also have, because a lot of the time we see people are like, okay, there's so much data. How do I even translate this? Which is also a great question. And we have nutrition scores that are on the gold version of the app. And basically, we have one for like women's health, one for bone health. We have a plant-based nutrition score. We have a ketogenic nutrition score. So these are just nutrients that people are maybe not typically going to hit, or that they should be paying attention to. As like with women's health nutrition score, these are nutrients that women tend to be slightly deficient in. And so it just gives you a really digestible bar of information. It's like you hit 95% of your women's health nutrition score today. And I think that that really helps people understand their nutrition and what nutrients you need for different bodily functions. We also, for like super nerdy people, which when I say super nerdy, that's like the ultimate compliment because I think that I'm super nerdy. But we have, when you look on your daily report, you can click on any nutrient. Say I want to click on iron. It'll tell me the sources of iron that I had that day, and then it'll also tell me why I need it. Because a lot of people, I don't really think about that. Like, oh, I'm low in iron, but what does that actually mean for my body? So we actually talk about the function of iron in your body, and it's like, okay, so if I don't get this, then the opposite's going to happen. I'm gonna, not have any energy, and my sleep's going to be disrupted and that kind of stuff. So that's really cool too. But just these nerdy extra features.
Yeah, and I think that that's really important too. Also, everyone is so different. So getting a full blood panel of what you are currently at too, and kind of using that data with Chronometer would be a really great. You can get so much out of the app and just so much data about your body, which I think is so cool.
I
What
agree.
are some features, or where do you see Chronometer like heading in the next few years then, besides the French app, which is obviously a huge undertaking?
Great question. I think in the future, we're seeing a lot of apps that are doing photo logging. So basically, what that means is you take a picture of your food and then it will actually tell you what you ate. Not to throw shade, but right now, those kinds of things, as someone who's like deeply rigorous about detail, they're just not where they need to be. Like when people are using these, I'm like, okay, it's great because it's helping you track because it's fast and it's easy and 100%. Like, that's so great. And I want people to track, even if they're not tracking with Chronometer. I'm like, yes, track, yes. But if it's wrong and you're tracking, I also struggle a little bit with that, if I'm being honest. And there's things that with photo logging now that just can't be accurate that I don't really know if everyone is considering. I'll give you some examples. So you go to a restaurant and you take a picture of a salad, saying it has chicken on top, and it doesn't really know how big the bowl is or the plate is. And then there's other things like cooking oils, which completely changes the nutrient profile of a food. Like it's not adding butter. It sees chicken breast and it's like, oh, chicken breast and whatever, but it's probably not adding butter or that kind of thing, or olive oil even. And until those things can be perfected, I'm a little wary. But that said, we are working on photo logging. Our core data team right now is hard at work mastering this because when we see it's the way of the future, but it has to be done our way. So until again it's our standard, we're not going to put it out. But I would think that that's something that we'll be putting out hopefully this year, which would be huge. Will be really exciting. And then I think we're also just toying with how to take all of this data for people and then give them insights. I know that I did a number of Whoop user interviews, people that use both Whoop and Cronometer together. And Whoop has this diary function that's really cool. So you can track all of these different things that you do. And one of the people I interviewed, his name is Duncan. He actually found out that when he has turmeric, that he sleeps better. And I think that that was so cool because he would just journal that he had turmeric. And then it was like, oh, your sleep has improved. And I think those kinds of insights, if we could provide those, that's the way of the future as well. So hopefully harnessing people's data and giving them insights tailored specifically to them so they don't have to do as much research into reading about them themselves. They'll just like get it presented to them, I think is something else we want to include as well.
The photo journal could be so hard. Like I mean, I can't even imagine like how you can really see and know exactly what's in something, just from a picture.
It's honestly, we're toying around with it right now and we get to like prototype it. And I will give Colin, he's on the coordinated team. He's been working on it a lot. I gotta give him credit. It's pretty amazing. But again, people are counting on us to give them data that's really accurate, not just for weight goals, but for like health goals.
Yeah,
And so that's something we take really seriously, you know? And so if it's not perfect, we really don't want to put it out there. So when it is out there, people can be like, yes, this is dialed. But until then, but yeah, it's just so many things to consider, I think. Cooking oils being, I think, one of the bigger obstacles for sure.
absolutely. And you don't even know how much cooking oil or like what all the seasoning, like there's a lot involved in it. So that sounds amazing. And I wish you guys the best of luck in trying to figure that
Thank
out.
you.
To Colin, let's go. Is his name Colin?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go, Colin. You got this. So listeners can obviously try out Cronometer. I'm going to put the link in the show notes so you can try it out. But is there anything else you want to leave the audience with to try Cronometer today?
Yeah, I would encourage anyone to pick it up and try it. I think that nothing but goodness can come out of tracking your nutrition, and I truly believe that. Um, if people run into issues or need help, we have the best customer support team. I work very closely with a number of them, and they are absolutely wonderful people. You know, like when people write in, they're like, "Am I going to get a robot?" Um, and they're real people that really care. So that's really, really great. We also have an awesome community on Reddit. And then any social channels people can find us and get help.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here today. It was such a great conversation, and make sure you go try Cronometer today.
Perfect. Thanks, Tara. Take care.
Yeah.